Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and we're going to talk about Jason Alexander and Peter Tilden interviewing John Peterson, a Dungeons & Dragons history expert. Jason Alexander is Costanza from Seinfeld, is George Costanza from Seinfeld, and Peter Tilden is an actual for realsies American movie producer, okay? So the two of them get on and they do this New York Times, Wall Street Journal, hey, let's send somebody who doesn't know anything about D&D to ask some questions that have been asked 100 times with very little research and really not caring about the subject. Let's do a Muggle interview, right? So I was very like, I didn't like the way this went down because I really felt that Jason Alexander and Peter Tilden needed to have more respect, right? But they did ask some good questions of John Peterson, and John Peterson rose to the occasion and gave some banger answers, right? So John Peterson explains Dungeons & Dragons to them, and he did an okay job, right, of explaining Dungeons & Dragons, and he did a good job of talking about Dungeons & Dragons history. I don't think anything he said was wrong. And the biggest reason is he didn't talk about Lorraine Williams. I need to understand where where John Peterson is on Lorraine Williams, but we'll get there. All right. So Peter Tilden, he's this American movie producer, and there was a point in the interview where I felt he understood what John Peterson was saying, and was actually extending goodwill toward Dungeons & Dragons for a brief moment. And here's what he said. He said, so I think I understand this. So this is a way that you can spend time with friends that is non-linear. Not like getting drinks in a bar. And I was like, oh my gosh, he gets it. He sees it, right? And I was like, that's exactly right? Like, basically, I have realized this in my life. I've actually gotten rid of friends that did this. I cannot have a friend who likes to get together and talk, right? I just can't do it. Like, I despise sitting and talking, right? Like, I really dislike it, right? Whereas if we come together for a D&D game, right, it's going to be 2 hours long, and there's going to be awesome adventure, and there's going to be something memorable, and something is going to happen at that table, right? But before and after, we will talk, right? And it will be genuine, and it'll be brief, and it'll be short, and only the best parts will need to come out. There won't be a bunch of useless complaining or like saying the same thing you've heard before. Like, it is a way of being a friend that is non-linear, and that really beats just sitting in a bar getting drinks. And then I also realized that is what Peter Tilden is doing. He wants to get together with his friends, but it's a terrible experience because the two of them are drunk, right? Because they're just sitting in a bar drinking, and it's horrible, right? Like, basically, your friends are the people you care about, right? And you're like, oh, hey, you and me need to talk now. Let's get drunk. Let's destroy our brain cells and make sure that our communication is inhibited, right? Or actually, not inhibited, is out of control, and that it has too much emotion, and there isn't a lot of control on the conversation. It's sucky, right? And I realized right then there was sympathy for him, right? And he actually said, he followed up his statement. He says, it actually sounds beneficial and good and communal. Beneficial and good and communal. Right? And I realized right then, like, he had never sat at a Dungeons & Dragons table, right? And it was really profound that he was like, this is something I want to do. This is something, or actually, no, I'm sorry, that's not correct. He's like, this is something I understand why people are doing it. And I even acknowledge that what I am doing is really the sad activity. The world views Dungeons & Dragons as a sad activity. And unfortunately, that is still true. It really is very true that the world very much does not understand what we do, and they do not react well to what we do, right? It's just a sad reality but it is a reality that they just don't, they fundamentally do not understand what we are doing, right? But the reality is, while the world looks at us and is like, oh, you guys are, sitting and pretending to be elves in your basement, we can look back and say, you know what? You're going to see your friend, and all you're doing is getting drunk and sitting in a bar. You're the sad sack, not us. We are attaching new identities to ourselves. We're exploring ourselves. We're exploring everyone else at the table. And by extension, we are exploring all of culture, all of humanity, right? We are making memories and questing and adventuring, and you're just sucking down another Pabst. You are the one that should be mocked, not us, all right? And honestly, I really believe, like, after, Peter Tilden kind of said the quiet part loud, I suck. You don't, John Peterson, right? And if that's how you spend your time with your friends, no, we can laugh at you, not the other way around. Not the other way around, in my humble opinion, right? And actually, I don't think we can even laugh at you. We should pity you. We should pity you, right? And that is the bet. Yeah. Nobody should laugh at somebody who spends their time getting drunk. They should be pitied, right? Especially if they're wasting the moments of togetherness with their friend to use that time to just suck down another Corona, right? Like, it's really bad. I really like this interview after all was said and done. I definitely had my fur up because I really despise these Wall Street Journal, New York Times, blah, blah, blah. Let's send somebody who doesn't know Dungeons and Dragons and you do the same questions that were asked 30 years ago as if these articles haven't been written, 1,000 times, right? And I really felt this had some of that energy, but there were some real bangers. There were some real moments, and I highly suggest you watch it. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. The important part is when I get to your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.